When I was driving the combustion engine S-classes, those cars felt like the kind of car where I wanted to be seated at the back. I didn't want to be driving. The EQS for me, and I said it on my Instagram, it's a little bit of an anomaly because this car is as comfortable as the S-classes were. Of course, it is an EQS, but it feels remarkably more agile. I'm having much more of a greater time sitting behind the wheel of the EQS than I was behind the wheel of the S-classes. And this is sort of how I've summed it up. The S-class is the kind of car you want to be driven in. The EQS is the kind of car you want to drive. And I say that for multiple reasons. The first reason of which is the fact that this car is electric. And of course you're wondering, okay, now Sam, like, what does that mean? The batteries are placed along the floorboard of this car at the very bottom. And that means that the center of gravity is much lower than a normal regular combustion engine S-Class. So that makes the car feel a lot more agile than a normal S-Class would. The second reason is because this car has rear wheel steering as standard. You can spec it on a normal S-Class, but honestly, it's one of those features that should just be standard. Rear axle steering. It's going to cost you 70,000 Rand on a normal S-Class, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things isn't really much. But even if you did spec rear wheel steering on a normal S-Class, it would not be anywhere near as agile as this car is. And then of course there's the fact that you have the instant accessibility of power being an electric car. You want to overtake someone, put your foot down, overtake straight away. The car has so much torque, and guys, it really isn't the fastest electric car around. It's got 245 kilowatts of power. The torque figure I'm not too certain about, but it definitely feels like it's over 600 newton meters of torque. When you put your foot down, you feel it in your neck, you feel it over here. This car pulls way faster than the S500, I would say, off of instant just going. And another thing that is more than the S500 is the range, because when you charge this car fully, you've got a quoted range of up to 680 kilometers of range. That you can just drive down to Durban, you can stop at Harry Smith, charge again. And the cool thing is, this car is supported with fast charging. So you arrive at a public charging station, like let's say at Foy's Mall of Africa, it needs to be a fast charger, an AC charger. No, DC. AC or DC. I'll put it down there, whichever one it is. But it needs to be a fast charger, and the car can charge in less than an hour, all the way up to 80% in less than an hour, which is crazy. And if you have half a tank, like half battery, it'll charge to 80% in 20 minutes. That's like not even enough time to go into the mall and do your grocery shopping, or to go and buy a shirt you liked. So yeah, the EQS for me, the only thing that really, like, because it did disappoint me, it really did. These seats over here are nowhere near as comfortable as an S-Class's standard seats. They just aren't. And also in the S-Class, you can get the first class rear compartment over there, which separates the two seats, and then you don't have 3 seats in the back, you only have 2 with a nice dividing center console, and that just makes it feel that much more prestige. And man, guys, because the S-Class in terms of Mercedes holds such a stature, what the name that rests on that brand image of S-Class is huge. You know, you look at an S-Class, it's got this big, long, stately bonnet, sharp creased lines, but then you look at this EQS and you're like, it's kind of shaped like a fish. It looks like a blob, but there's a reason why it looks like a blob, because it has a drag coefficient of 0.20, which makes it the slipperiest car in the world. And you feel it, you know, you cruise on the highway at speed at 120 kilometers per hour, and there isn't the faintest bit of wind noise. The car is totally silent. And I was getting into those standard features when I spoke about the seats. Like in an S-Class, you'll get Burmeister as a standard feature, but in the EQS, you won't. And you want that, because then the Burmeister has active noise cancellation to make the noise even quieter. In an S-Class, you get acoustic glass as standard, so you get double glazed windows as standard, whereas in the EQS, you don't. I kind of understand why. It's electric, it's quiet anyway, but those are the things that make an S-Class an S-Class. It's all about the features. It's all about the finishing touches, that what you sit on, the seats. It needs to be as comfortable as possible. And that is the reason why I say the S-Class is the kind of car where you want to be driven, and the EQS is the kind of car you want to drive. And it's not like you're sacrificing any backseat space. You're not even sacrificing on price, because the EQS starts at 2.5 million rand, which is thereabouts what you would spend on a spec'd up S-Class anyway. All in, on either of the S-Classes, you're probably looking at over 3 million rand, or just under. And it's an expensive car, guys. It really is an expensive car. And I would like to say that you are getting what you're paying for over here, because at the end of the day, this is an experience that you would not get in any other car. And what I'm really enjoying right now is I'm busy recouping power back into the battery. So I've got these paddle shifters here to my left and my right, and in a normal conventional car, paddle down is gear down, paddle up is gear up. But in this, it actually controls your battery recuperation. So you've got three. You've got strong recuperation, you've got normal recuperation, and no recuperation. And the cool thing about the strong recuperation is that you can actually one pedal drive this car. And for those of you who don't understand what one pedal driving is, essentially what happens is when you let off the accelerator, the car slows down by itself. It almost initiates braking, essentially. Even when you let off the accelerator, the brake pedal depresses to the point where it would be depressed if you were braking. And the reason why it does this is because it puts energy back into the battery. So it uses that kinetic energy from braking to recharge the battery. And that means you can one pedal drive this car. So essentially, when you one pedal drive an electric car and you do it properly, you get used to it, because it does take a little bit of adjustment. You are never on the brakes, which means I've heard stories of electric car owners like having stupid life out of their brake pads. And that's the thing with an electric car. But yeah, really enjoyed all of the S-Classes. My pick of the range is most definitely 100% the EQS. But this electric S-Class, if you want to call it that, is a really good middle ground between S350D and S500, because it gives you sort of middle of the road range, and it gives you middle of the road power. And then it also gives you all the benefits of driving an electric car. So you get the instant acceleration. And that naturally tells me that this is a car that I want to drive more spiritedly, with more intent. I'm having a lot more fun behind the wheel of this car, because the power feels elastic. It's like bendy. It's the fact that it's always there for me to utilize that just feels incredible. I love it. I absolutely love it. So yeah, EQS is my pick of the range. Yeah, I can get over the fact that the seats aren't as comfortable. I can get over the fact that I don't have the standard Burmeister sound system. It's just one of those things that you're going to live with, and you're going to love it any other way. So yeah, that was the ultimate S-Class review, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.